everything ready.
Okay.
Okay, so what was the first question I had on the list for you?
Best way of reducing attrition.
Yeah, I want to know what you guys did. You know, we seem to have a problem. We've eliminated a problem at because we were teaching a typical New York way of turning the girl, and it was just too much brain damage. And then when I asked some guys from New York how the heck they teach that, they say they have a 6-week course just for that move. And I'm like,
oh, God.
I'm not doing this. So what we eliminated...
I guess if you're making money, it's a good thing. But can I take you on a little ride for a minute?
Yes.
Okay. Understand one concept. Nobody comes to us because they want to learn to dance. They don't want to be on Dancing with the Stars. They don't want to be superstars. People come to us because they want to meet other people. Now, the core reason behind that is the human need for touch. Okay? Now, you can't go up to somebody in a bar and touch them. You get slapped, right? Okay. Guys get tired of getting rejected. Now, Sharon Savoy said it perfectly. Women dance for the rhinestones and the fantasy. What is the fantasy? Well, the fantasy is meeting Prince Charming. Okay? Guys meet effectively because they want to get laid. Okay? It's the core reason. Now, Sharon said it, not me. She said, underneath it, yes, the girls want to hook up too. They just don't want to hook up in a bar over a beer. Okay? So dancing creates a little more genteel, a little more civilized way for people to meet. Okay? Now, along the way, they flip from, I'm just here to meet somebody, even though they will never admit it. Subconsciously, they don't even say, they don't even know that, but underneath it, that's the reason why they're coming to us. So what happens is that dance teachers think they're here for me or they're here for my dance knowledge. And the problem is we either try to impress them or we try to teach them something new. And that word new is very important. And what happens is we frustrate them. And when we frustrate them, they give up.
Right.
There's your number one cause of attrition.
Okay.
So part of that is changing the mentality of how we're thinking, and secondly, what we're teaching and how we're teaching it so that they do not feel stupid. Okay? All right. So the first thing is if we mentally take our ego out of the thing, they're not here for us. They're here to have fun. If you want to reduce attrition, the number one thing you want to do is to get them to become family. And I use that word family because what that means is they sink roots into the studio. Now, the thing with people having roots is there may be another studio that'll open up across town or next door or whatever, and people will go over there and they'll say, oh, I had a great lesson. But their friends are still all over at your place. And they feel like, well, I may go to them for teaching because maybe they're teaching better or whatever, but they come back to you for the parties and because they have created roots. And the roots intertwine like ivy. So the important thing for us, did you see the picture I sent you? Sent you an email.
To my email?
Pop it open for a sec.
Hold on a minute. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, no, not yet, but you can share it.
Okay. I did not get, hold on just a minute. Enio. No, I only received one email from you.
I do not understand this. I sent you, hold on. I sent it to Edie at Black Belt Salsa.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me do a get mail.
Yeah.
Cause let me see.
I mean, I can show it to you here, but it's just easier if you have it in front of you.
Yeah, of course. Hang on just a minute. Let me see. Black Belt Salsa, check mail.
Let me check myself. It should have sent, but we'll double check sent.
No, I never
Edie at
got
Black
it.
Belt. Edie at blackbeltdance.com.
Yes. I haven't received it. Hold on, let me get all mail. Enio, no, I only have one. Please join
Oh,
Zoom.
you know what?
What?
I sent one of them to Edie at blackbelt.com.
Oh, that's not going to come to me.
Got it. Okay, my mistake.
So let me,
I think I haven't had 5 cups of coffee. So let me forward this to Edie at Black Belt Salsa.com
yeah,
or Salsa Dance.
.com. Blackbeltsalsa.com or
Okay.
blackbeltdance.com. You've disabled participant screen sharing. See?
Let me let you do that. Multiple. I should have you. I think it's just we have it on automatic when we. You should be able to do it, but double check it.
Okay, hang on. Trying to get your email.
Yeah, I'm showing it. Advanced sharing options are grayed out. I don't know why. Usually I have no problem with this stupid thing, but Zoom just allows us to do other stuff. But I don't know why it's not letting you share.
Oh, okay, now it's allowing me.
Okay, cool.
Okay, share. Open system
Okay.
preferences. Open. Click. Enter. Unlock. Zoom. Oh, wow. I have to quit Zoom and then reopen in order to share my screen. Damn. So I would have to...
Okay, you can quit. No big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal. Just click out and I'll let you back in. No big deal.
Okay.
We people do it all the time for whatever reason.
Okay. So,
Yeah, just quit out or leave and come back. You've got the link, so just click the link and it'll let you right back in.
Okay, share. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, okay, great. So I didn't have to quit. All right, so hold
Yeah.
on. Check mail. Inbox. Oh, there you go. Okay, so we're going to go down to, oh, wow.
Yeah, bingo.
Okay, so hang on a minute.
First one.
Let me do...
Go to the first one. There you go. And zoom out so we can see it.
Okay, hang on a sec. All right, there it is.
There you go. I'll tell you right there is the key to having an absolutely rock star studio.
Okay.
Okay? Because the bottom one is the most important part.
Okay.
Facilitating relationships. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now,
I have a question.
yeah.
Did you ever offer, like, bring your family and friends for free for one class?
We did something better. We did guest passes, and that in itself is about half an hour of information. It's so handy. But yes, in a nutshell, yes. But how you do it is key.
Okay.
In other words, you can just have them, and they're no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do them the right way, they actually have multi-purposes,
Mm-hmm.
and people actually will do stuff with them, which is a key. You know?
Yeah, well, I'd like to spend another $50 for that half hour of information.
No problem. Well, I mean, we'll get to it. Because your goal right now is, how should I say, for me, your goal is to kill your attrition and make your classes grow.
Yes.
That's what I'm focusing on right now. So let me take you back to where we were just a second ago. The worst thing that we can do when we put somebody into a class, a guy, is to make him look stupid in front of a girl. The one thing that guys hate, and also looking unmasculine. All right?
Right.
So a lot of times teachers, first thing they do, and this is very common in ballroom, they put the girl in the guy's arms, tell him how to hold her, and then, stand off set and all this nonsense. The guy's brain cannot function when he's holding a girl. His other little brain takes over. Okay, now if I'm being crude, I apologize, but
No, don't worry.
It's the fastest way to make a point. Okay? All right. So the last thing we wanted people to do was to feel stupid. So our first thing was to separate the classes, separate partners, get them away, because you put a new couple, a couple that's starting, and the woman's going to be bagging on him the whole time. No, honey, you're not doing it right. No, that other guy, no, forget it. The last thing we wanted was people touching. So what we did is we lined them up and we taught them skills, not steps.
Okay.
We taught them taking 3 steps over 4 beats of music. Now, the biggest mistake we make is that we tell them to put their foot here or put their foot there. That is the worst mistake dance teachers make, because when you do that, a person is going to move unnaturally. If you think of the game Twister, put your foot on that dot, put your foot on this dot. People move like baby giraffes. What we did was we said everything that you need to know to dance, you did before you walked into this room. Guys, have you ever pushed a lawnmower? All the guys nod. Yeah. Okay, guys, did you run into the tree or did you go around the tree? Guess what, guys? Moving a girl is just the same thing. You don't hold the arms out at full extension. You hold anything within your center of strength. So what we did, the first thing that we went for is getting people to think, oh, I already know how to do this. Every single thing. We said, guys, do you ever take 2 steps with the same foot? I would demonstrate walking, 2 lefts, 3 rights, and they would laugh. I said, so no, in dancing, we always alternate. Rule number 1, you're going to always alternate. Number 2, when you walk, do you lead with your legs? Do you stick your leg forward and then walk? I said, no. How does a baby learn to walk? A baby takes his face to a toy, a bottle, candy, mommy, whatever. And eventually, after the first 10 times, he falls on his face. The brain goes, you're stupid. You keep dropping me. So what does the brain do? You move the body forward or you tilt the head forward, and the brain puts the feet underneath the body. So they go, yeah, that makes sense. So what I say is, I'm not going to have you do anything except what you already know how. So what I'm doing is I'm taking away their fear of, doing something new. Like they have to memorize something. Put your foot here, put your hand there. Way too much information. All I wanted them doing was marching in time to the music. Now, by the way, can I see you just for a second?
Yeah. You see me here?
Good. No, I'm seeing your screen. You're still on your share screen.
Oh, okay.
So cancel that out. Yeah, I feel better talking to a person. Otherwise, I'm looking at my screen.
Stop
It's no fun.
share. Okay.
There you go. Okay, cool.
All right.
So let me ask you a question, okay?
Okay.
When you start the very first step of salsa, what position do you have a person, not guy, girl, what position do you have them starting in?
I really don't have them start with their feet together. I always have them start apart, and then move through. But we really don't tell them, okay, start like this, because that's not reality. You don't come together and then forward and then no. I've never taught that. So
do you ever teach forward break, back break, or normally on the first lesson do you teach forward break, back break?
No.
No. Good.
We just teach.
That is the biggest mistake ballroom dancers make because people look stiff.
Right.
Okay?
We teach walking 3 steps forward and walking 3 steps back.
Good.
Actually,
that's a good start.
I do 5 steps forward, 5 steps back, then 3 forward, then 3 back. And then all of a sudden they're dancing salsa. So I've never taught that other way. No.
Okay. All right. Good. So this is where we get into, I call it the physics of something. All right. If you break down salsa into quicks and slows, right? You would say that salsa is quick, slow, correct? Roughly?
If you're dancing on one.
Technically, you've got in there 2 beats that are taken as a quick and 1 beat that's taken as a slow. I don't care what beat you put it on.
Right.
Fair enough?
Right.
Okay. So let's just pretend. Let's do 1 for now, just because it's simpler. All right? So should the biggest step be taken on the slow or on the quick?
I don't know.
Okay, this is a fourth grade math problem. Two planes are traveling at 300 miles an hour, and one travels for 1 hour, and one travels for 2 hours. Which one goes further?
2 hours.
Correct. So 2 beats or 1 beat. Which step should be the biggest one?
2 beats.
The 2 beat step. Correct. The slow.
Right.
Right. What do ballroom dancers do? Feet together from a dead stop, holding a girl that weighs 110 pounds, and jam her forward, and then pull her back. Jam her back. And so, against the laws of physics, they are trying to take a big step, and then they stand still for 2 beats.
Right.
As opposed to small, small, big. Now, if you watch Cuban, if you watch Puerto Rican, when you see them go, cross over, back, back, that third step is the biggest, the slow. So what we started doing, and it took us a while to get here, but what we started doing was telling them to march in place and take one step with full body weight. In other words, think of jumping onto something. Small, small, move. Now, your feet are apart, but all your weight's on that other foot. Bring the other foot in and go march, march, move. So I would tell everybody, okay, so do we move forward on the left half, or do we move back on the left half? And virtually everybody says, oh, we move forward on the left half. I go, we really move back. Think of a cross-body lead. Small, small, big. I step away on the slow. I open up on the slow. When I'm doing the second half of the cross-body lead, I do small, small, big. I'm chasing the girl. So if you imagine that, and it applies to every single thing of your basic, it flips everything, and suddenly everything makes sense.
Okay.
Because they're taking the third step as the biggest one. Again, if it's on 2, it changes slightly, but for the most part, the premise is wrong. We try to move with no power, as opposed to building a little steam and go. Now, when your feet are together, that's when your body has the quick, and then slow is the smooth. So it gives you a very rhythmic look. And then on the quick, the guys do much more Cuban body rhythm in the rib cage, taking the girl's rib cage side to side, and then pulling out. They can expand the top, or they can pop her. There's so many other things they can do. So what we did, first of all, was not teach the salsa break. We taught them timing, feet, straight, and not on toes. Last thing I want is a guy on toes. But we did get their weight moving forward, so we did get them on the front part of the foot, but I never wanted guys on toes. Makes them look very feminine, okay? And when people are on toes, they tend to lose the hip motion because they're trying to be ballet dancers.
Right.
Ballet dancers are taught to hold the hips rigid and not move the hips. So the first thing we did was change. They were coming in. They were going to learn a step. I'm not going to teach a step. But what we did is we taught them multiple skills that all of a sudden you put them together, and all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm doing this step. How did I manage to do that? He didn't teach me the step. Right. They already know how to step. They already know how to walk. They know how to run. Everybody knows. I asked them, when we get to turns, did you take a shower today? Yes. Did you just wash one side, or did you turn around in the shower? Good. You know how to turn around. So I don't need to teach you how to turn around. I'm going to teach you when to turn around. So when we did it we taught it as a spot turn, not as a spin with your feet together. So you understand this. You have energy, and it's going around in a circle. That energy has to dissipate. So a lot of people teach the girl to spin with her feet together. We taught the girl to dissipate the energy by taking the slow. So if you do a spot turn, you step across, you rotate on the right foot, and then you ride out to the side. All of a sudden, they can stop. We taught it backwards. We taught the exit first. If you were learning to drive your car, do we teach you to use the gas pedal first or the brake pedal first?
The brake.
We did the brake pedal first. We always taught the stop before we taught the go.
Okay.
So that when people are not afraid, they're afraid of falling. Oh, they tighten up. Instead, we taught them to stop. We just did we called it shut the door. Shut the door. So push out to the side. So then when we taught like a traveling pivots, like a turnstile or a sombrero, the girls, rather than trying to stop with their feet together, would ease into the turn, and they'd have 2 beats to slow it down. So it made turns easier. It made timing easier. Nothing broke from the quick, slow. So I tell everybody, everything I teach has to stand up to a challenge. Go ahead and challenge me. I love when you challenge me because I've worked it out. Laws of physics and gravity. We don't change it. We don't say, oh, yeah, I'm doing swing, so the rules don't apply to me. Or I'm doing salsa, different rules. The laws of physics and gravity apply to each of us. When we move, we don't move our leg. We move our body. So when I see somebody take a back break, I go, that's wrong. Because a back break, they are sticking their leg out. Now they're split weight.
Right.
So we taught them first to take the one big step. Now, when they do a break, they don't do a forward break.
Right.
Right? When people teach with 2 hands, what does a guy do? He jams the left hand forward. He's really telling her, you're too stupid to know what foot you're going with. So I'm going to tell you, go back with your right foot. And now, if you think of contralateral rotation is the motion that a baby learns to crawl with. It's called the crawl reflex. I'll repeat that. It's contralateral rotation. When you walk in opposition. But when people teach salsa, they take 2 hands and shove the left hand forward with the left foot. Well, the first thing you did was take away, as Terrell used to call it, you took away my sexy. Because you've got them moving shoulder and hip together, as opposed to when we walk right hand over left knee, left hand over right knee. So that when I move, I don't go like this. I take my hips and let them rotate, and my shoulders checking in opposition, so that the body's getting this natural swing to it. Natural. Unnatural is always wrong and always difficult to learn. So what we did was remove the unnatural. Did I tell you about my tennis coach?
No. Oh, yeah,
okay.
You did. When we were talking on the phone last week, you told me that story.
Yes, the 500 of anything, right?
Right.
So when we did what we call our basic warm-up, the first week was teaching it. It was marching, then what we call the pendulum. March, march, move. March, march, move. And we did it sideways. March, march, move. If you see the old Cuban way of teaching, they teach, go sideways on 8-1 and close 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they moved on the 8 and to start. That was the old Cuban way. That's confusing as hell for a lot of people. It's starting on the 8. Oh, God. But they were doing the same principle. Mm-hmm. It's Fred Astaire, Arthur Murray, that had people dancing, feet together, break forward, break back. And he said, I can teach mambo in 2 minutes. God, it looked god awful.
Okay, well, listen. What I want to focus this on mm-hmm. is not how to teach a basic. Right. Okay, I don't want to know about Arthur Murray and how they do things and whatnot. Yeah. I just want to know what. I really loved your thing about the best way of reducing attrition, because you haven't seen me teach and you haven't seen how we do things.
I actually watched. Trust me, I did watch.
Not in the last 10 years.
Right? Oh no, I'm talking about the classes that you were teaching. So you posted some online. So So just I watch everybody. I like to see what they do.
You mean our last week? You mean?
No, this is like I don't know, about 3 months, 2-3 months ago. It was a group class that you were teaching on salsa, and I Terrell watched it too. It was your training class, if I recall.
My training.
And you were having people switch back and forth from lead and follow. You posted it on Facebook, so.
I did. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, listen. Because I've changed my teaching style a lot. Okay. And I think that maybe I should just send you for another time how we teach now. Okay.
Okay.
I train my apprentice instructors, how to teach the basic, right? And I don't go, like, for example, I loved what you said about removing the unnatural. I don't teach a ball toe at the beginner level, okay? I only do that later on if they want to really compete and look good. I love the fact that you said that we want to create a family, and we want to have, and I totally understand about the guys looking stupid. We want to make them feel comfortable with themselves, with each other. We have many different classes. You see, I want to take myself out of the picture, and I just want to run. I know that it's really good to have a man and a woman at every level that I'm teaching. And we're getting to that point. Right now I have 12 apprentice instructors, and a lot of them are new. Now, I understand that, your basic day one class, you have to have a master there to really show them how fun it is, and that the instructor is the star and whatnot. But for example, when I broke my foot and I was out for several months, my classes grew. They didn't depend on me being there or my dance partner. So I want to get to the point of where I don't have to, I'm already at that point. I don't have to show up to class. Sometimes it storms and I'm not there and my apprentices take over. That's what I want. And so what I need to do is develop a system or develop a method of having those cards, those get in free cards, to where we do create a family atmosphere. Okay?
Got it.
To where we create something that people want to come back, not because of the instruction, but because they want to be with their friends. And I would like to focus on that. I don't want to talk about the steps or the basic or anything.
Got it. My only point, though, and I want to make this clear, is all the other tricks in the world will not work if straight away they're frustrated. So my point was, the first thing that I must do is make the person comfortable. And that was, if I was teaching a step, I was shooting myself in the foot. That was my point. So not to say you don't know how to teach it. No, you know how to teach it. My point is that we took out things that are understood as being, that's the right way to do it or whatever.
Right.
And what do you see with most studios? They've got 10 people. Half of them are not men, half women. It's 80% women and 20% guys. They can't keep the guys. And that's what we figured out. That's the key. If you have a lot of guys, the girls show up. If you have a lot of older guys, they're creepers. So the trick was to get young people, no matter how you can do it, get young people, comp them, I don't care. Remember this, Edie, we are not giving away product. We're selling hot air. Jerry Seinfeld said it perfectly. We're selling hot air. So if you let 50 people in and 10 pay, you were still going to get 10. But 60 people are having a hell of a lot more fun than 10 people.
Right, of course.
So key was I had no problem giving out those gift cards. Let's talk about the gift cards so that you can see how we used them. So first of all, we gave out the gift card as part of a little gimmick. When we were teaching certain things, we would hand them a gift card and say, okay, now hold this gift card as we didn't tell them what it was. Here, hold this. And we would have them use it as a skill. For example, when we wanted to teach pivot, we wanted the ladies to keep their legs closed. We said, okay, hold the card between your legs. If it falls out, then you owe me $1 or something stupid, whatever we said. But the key was that we involved it as part of the teaching. Now we said, okay, now put it in your pocket. Okay? That was the first thing. We got it into their hands in one way. On another way, we would, on the first week of the class, I would finish, and I finished every class in level 1 with this statement. Okay, everybody, I have a question for you. And they'd all stop. Did you guys have fun today?
Yeah.
And that, even if they didn't, everybody else applauds. You think, oh, I guess I'm the stupid one for not applauding, but everybody applauds, right? Okay, now, do you have friends? And obviously they kind of look around like, what? Of course we have friends. They're good. Okay, I've just given you a $15 gift, and you can share that with your friends. So you can give it to anybody you want, and the card said they must start on the first or second week of the month, and they could be, they were for level 1 except by teacher permission. In other words, so let's say they give it to somebody who's advanced. I'm happy to get them, but I would have them come in early and show me, and I'd say, okay, show me Trust by Elite. I don't know that name. Well, okay, in level 2, I'm not going to stop and teach you because the rest of the room already knows what that is. So you probably are level 1. Now, you may go through it a lot faster. You don't do it. Typically, our level 1s will be here 3 cycles, 2 to 3 months. At the end of that, they take a test, and if they pass it, great. Right. If you can pass the test right now, I'll let you take level 2, 3, or 4. Okay, here's a test for level 2. Can you do this?
And did you test them at the beginning of class before they even walked in the door if they were brand new or no?
Only if somebody came in and said, I want to take level 2. Oh, great. I would tell them, all you have to do is show up for level 2, I said, is do the warm-up.
Right.
And the warm-up was bang. Starting, we would do pendulum basics because we didn't start with they come in thinking, I'm going to do forward break, back break. And the first thing that we do is pendulum, and they're like blown away. Then we cross over, and they're blown away. And then we do spot turns, and they're blown away. And then we're doing doubles, and they're like, holy shit, you're doing doubles in level 2? I go, yeah, because we taught doubles in level 1.
I have a question. So you taught like your beginners from 7 till 8, and then your intermediate from 8 till in a separate hour, right?
Absolutely not.
No?
Nope.
You had the whole room together in one?
Nope.
What'd you do?
Level 4 or 3 first, followed by level 1.
So
here's why.
So separate hours?
Well, we did 90 minutes, but here was the premise. Okay. Understand this because this is why we did it. Typical studio.
No, I understand why you did it. Because you wanted the advanced people to stay for the beginners so that they could help them out, right?
No.
No? Okay, go ahead.
2 reasons. Typically in a studio, people are having pro-am lessons, right? Beforehand. So a guy walks in and he sees some typical studio, some young queen teaching an older, chubby lady. Typical Arthur Murray studio. So a guy looks at this and goes, oh, hell no. He's gone. You lost him. But he walks in and he sees a level 3 guy, older chubby guy, dancing with a young cute girl. He's going, in his mind,
I can do that.
I'm better looking than that guy. I can do that.
Right.
If he sees some older guy doing that, he goes, I can do that.
Right.
So mentally, that was the first thing. I can do that. Second thing, the advanced, I would let them stay. Again, weren't costing me a thing. But what happened was, if the advanced stayed, I didn't have a room full of beginners. I didn't have what I called the blind leading the blind.
Right.
The advanced would stay and help the beginners.
Right.
Now, why would the advanced guys stay? Oh, as Terrell called it, they got first crack at the fresh meat.
Right. Okay.
They got to impress the girls with their stuff.
All right.
So
we don't have that business model. We have something different. I guess my question is, see, like when everybody comes in, the fresh meat gets seen right away because our advanced group is here, our intermediate is there. I have 9 different circles going on at the same time. Okay, so
Salsa Lovers does that to great effect. So,
right,
yeah.
And then at the end, everybody dances together in a massive circle, and we high 10. We switch partners, so everybody gets to see the fresh meat, and they also get to feel what it's like to dance with a great dancer, right? So we have a different model in a sense. I guess my question is specifically, because we get people coming in the door and say, hey, I have this free pass, but I'm not a beginner. And we ask them to go to the orientation first, which is only like 15 minutes of the fundamentals day 1 class. And then that instructor says, who here is advanced or past this? They raise their hand, and then then they have to be tested through me, and I quickly see if they could do a crossbody lead, a simple right turn, left turn, whatever, and then I determine where they go. So my question was, how do you test them? Do you test them in the middle of the class, or when do you test them?
Okay, so the last thing I wanted was somebody dropping into my class that didn't know fuck all.
Right.
They're going to disrupt the class. They get upset. They storm out because they thought they were wonderful, and the teacher that they had didn't teach them jack.
Okay.
So our warm-up for level 2, 3, and 4 was designed to blow people out.
Okay.
In other words,
got it.
We created this mentality of, my God, we're getting much better basics here than we are in the club or whatever. 90 minutes, we could afford to give them more technique. So that's why a lot of street dancers came to us and got blown out. And they get pissed because, well, that's not what I learned. Well, I'm sorry. I can't help it if your teacher, just learned salsa last week. I can't help it. But we showed them level 1 was double turns, and level 2 started pivots, traveling turns.
Okay.
So all of that meant that if they came to us from somewhere else, we'd say, look, the only difference is you're going to learn our names and skills faster because you already know the timing. So don't be afraid of taking level 1. Typically, most people take it here for 3 months.
Okay.
And that 3 months, think of it this way, is 90 minutes times 4 or 5 in a month times 3. And you do the math and you go, wait a minute, that's like a day at work.
Right.
So you may have taken one level 1 and you think, oh, I'm an expert. No, you've done one day's work in a job. You can't learn a job in one day. So by doing the warm-up for us, we didn't have to come up and embarrass them. They knew right away, oh, I guess I'm not as good as I thought I was. So and every once in a while we'd have some that just were determined they were going to stick it through. And if they were lost, I would finally say, look, I'm sorry, but you're not ready for this level.
Okay.
And I'd say, but come on back and I'll give you, here's a guest pass. I'll let you come to this other class or whatever. So that's how I handled.
About the gift cards, okay? Is that all you did? Was you put them in the knees of the pivots and you put them in the pocket?
That was one way.
What was some other ways?
We used it for the other way was I would put them palm to palm. Okay?
What do you mean?
And this is how I taught connection. And I would say to the guys, palm to palm, you cannot extend your arm, got to keep your arm compressed. I said, now, walk backwards. And ladies, if that card drops, you've got to go to lunch with him.
Okay.
Okay. It was always something silly about dating or guys, when it was a guy's turn, if he dropped it, he had to pay for her lunch, but he didn't get to go.
Okay.
So it was always a little twist on it. But by teaching that connection, all the guys had to do was back up, and the ladies were like, oh my God. And I guys, back up, go forward. Back up, go forward. And it was a game. So we played a lot of games where the girls understood that back weighted, they would lose the card. Forward weighted, they didn't weigh a thing. So they were on top of their feet. So by doing the open card, okay, now put the card away and then go do something else. At the end of the class, all right, they already have the card.
Right.
Okay? So some weeks I would I would only give it out 3 out of the 4 weeks. And on the 4th week when we were going to recycle, because we did 4-week cycles, we said, okay, at the end of the class, I have a few cards. I always said a few. Limited quantity, right? Create scarcity. And they would mob me. Now, I always had a box sitting right next to me. But, they could, can I have 2? I don't know. Okay, yeah. And we give out the card. Now, we did not have to advertise. Those cards meant people were bringing their friends. So I'd say, are you having fun? Yeah. Then share this with your friends. Take this and take it to your coworkers. And then I would tell them, you're going to learn faster because, on the day that you're just a little tired, that so-and-so from work is going to be there. So you're less likely to miss if you bring friends.
What did it say on the card exactly?
Had the logo and the address. And this class is good for one free it used to say introductory lesson. And the qualifying was must be used on the first or second week of the month. We would not let anybody join after week 2 because they'd come in and they would slow the whole process down. We'd have to get them, really we were conditioning them how to stand, where to face, how to start the class,
right,
and make it so that it was a process, a system that they could feel comfortable in. Right?
What other games did you play with the cards?
God, I'd have to think about it. It's been a while.
I really like the palm one because we teach
that.
The first thing, day one, we really go thoroughly on connection because that's the most important thing in my mind.
I did that. I did the card thing on the crossbody lead. On the crossbody lead on step 4, the guys have a tendency to yank.
Yeah.
They pull the left arm. Instead, we actually had them do palm to palm.
On the crossbody?
And on a crossbody. So we did a crossbody with the right hand only, and we would tell the guys, okay, guys, now take your right hand. Now, without the girl, before they had the girl, when I taught the guys, I say, take your right hand, give her a shove. Give her a big old shove. Now, take your right hand, give her a hug. Which one do you think she's going to like? Mm-hmm. Good. So let's not give her the guys would say shove. Right. I always had them answering, So when they would do a crossbody lead, they're at a 90-degree angle. The guy's job was to close the girl into his right arm so that when they turn, she is still offset. As opposed to you pull her with your left arm.
Right.
And you've now brought the girl to your left side.
Correct.
Out of position. Mm-hmm. And it stops you from turning. So we did it with one hand, and then we would say, okay, guys, left hand only. Now, this is one of the games that we play. Girls, I want you to lean forward. Girls, I want you to lean. Come on. Girls, I want you to lean forward. I want you to lean on it. Now, guys, listen carefully, guys. Real quickly, put your hand out of the way. And the girls, if they fell forward, we would say, perfect.
So
you're right.
The card
if you did not move,
right,
you're heavy. And so, oh my God, she's heavy. Girls, you don't want the guy pulling you. All he's doing is he's giving you a break. He is turning to make sure it's safe. He's giving you the break. He releases the break, you go. And now the girls are weighted forward instead of the guys yanking them across. So we would do that with that. When we did the touch thing, if I was doing it in a private, I would do it differently. I would say to the guy, hey, do you have a $100 bill? Pull out the $100 bill. Do the $100 bill. Now, if that hits the ground, it's mine. And I would take, when I was teaching a private, I would do the $100 bill thing, and I would make those girls squeal because they're like determined to stay glued. I would do inside turns, underarm turns, crossbody. I'd back up, change direction, and I'd say, perfect. You don't weigh a thing, and you follow, and I didn't have to teach you anything.
Question for you. On the crossbody lead, did the guy have the card in the hand like this and the girl was like this for the crossbody?
She could. Again, if I wanted to use it to sell the card.
Yeah.
It was just what I was working on. When I taught the crossbody lead, the important thing for me was to get the girl to feel the falling forward.
Right. Okay.
Because then she wasn't in a break position. She was still moving on the slow.
Sure.
And then I could either turn her under or inside. I could spin her. Everything, she was ready to go. So whenever I did that, I demonstrated why. Because Carol was ready to do a double inside on the crossbody lead, or I could break and stop. Oh, somebody there, abort the mission. So by doing the card, I was using it. Now, okay, put the card away.
Okay.
It's in their pocket.
Right.
Okay. Now, one thing about cards, we also did punch cards. And if you've ever had a car wash card, buy 5, you get the 6th one free. You'll keep those damn things in your wallet till they disintegrate, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Our punch cards were designed for that method. We had 4-week classes, but we sold 6-class punch cards. Then people would, say, well, I'm only doing 4 weeks. I go, well, it's in case you want to, if you miss one, or if you want to take an extra one next month, You could try cha-cha, you could try merengue, any of the other dances that you're going to see in salsa club.
What
So
system? I have a question. What billing system did you use? I mean, a check-in system. Was it MindBody or My Best Studio?
Oh, no, we're talking long before that. We're talking 1988, 1998.
Excel, spreadsheets?
At that point, it was check, cash, or credit card, and we gave you a card. We told you, this is cash. Do not lose it.
Oh, okay.
Now, we've seen, like, Studio 22 had MindBody, and it was a nightmare. So they just switched to iPad check-in. But in essence, you're paying somebody for that privilege, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember Salsa Lovers. They used to have these big, gigantic books of names, and they had to read the name and check people in. I thought, this is stupid. They were doing 900 people. They took like 10 people to check you in. A punch card was easy because what we did was punch card and write their name. Punch and write their name. And then anybody that was buying a card, I had a separate person to do the sale. So one person to do the punch, one person to do the sale. But the punch was cool because let's say you took 2 classes, salsa ain't for me, whatever. You could use it for another dance. So already they knew that they had value. Rather than asking for a refund, they were going to use it for something else.
So what if
people said,
what if they lost their punch card?
Oh, that was it. I told them straight up. Now, there were exceptions, but I'd say, look, this is cash. Mm-hmm. Anybody that finds it, if you don't have your name written on it, okay? I said, the best I can do is if somebody turns it in, I will be happy to return it to you.
Okay.
I said, but...
So my question is, how did you collect people's emails?
We had a registration card that was a 5x7 card. And it had, very simply, name, address, phone number, and on the back, Karen Lee had given me Dances with Lawyers. And it says, it was based on the Dances with Wolves, but it said, we don't want to do the dance with lawyers. So you're signing this saying that you're indemnifying. Never had anybody sue us. It was always kind of stupid, but, we just did it because we were waiting for the day somebody do this. And so that was the only thing. So we had them sign the back. But the front was basically simply their name, address, phone number, and birth date, and then a place for us to put start date. So you went home and you would enter all that information in a database? In those days, I did everybody. At first, for the first couple of years, we didn't even have computers. But once I got my Mac, then we had, a database. And we could spit out labels and stick the labels on, flyers and stuff and send them out in the first few days. Did you ever put name tags on your students at all? Absolutely. One of the most important things, the first time I added name tags, people bitched and moaned. Oh, I don't like this. It's so churchy. Trust me. Facilitating relationships is the key. Okay. The name tags were the key because I would see you. Oh, her name's Edie. Next time I pass you in the hallway on the way to the bathroom, hi, Edie. Keep walking. Okay. And she's thinking, oh, he knows my name. It really made a difference. Yeah. Plus, it allowed us to interact with the student better. I could say, Edie, watch your third step. Just infinitely better. But that was the key to growing roots. Now, people got to know each other. Right. Another question. Did you keep the name tags with you, or did you allow them to take them home and bring them in? Oh, we did the stick-ons. Stick-ons? Stick-ons. I mean, it was, again, we were low-tech. And now they've got the, at Studio 22, I told her, get the, I forget the brand. It's a label maker, and it spits out the name tags. Okay? And so as soon as they check in, she's got it automated now, where basically people walk in, they show their fob under a reader, and that pulls up the info for the check-in person. The check-in person says, which class are you taking? They go check, check. I actually had designed a flow chart for a kiosk, but we never put it in because I couldn't get anybody to write the program, where people could go in and check, and they would be blocked from taking a level above theirs. So in other words, the idea was after they graduate, now we would allow them to take level 2, but never got there. But that was basically a better system. Mind body, I don't think it's worth it, to be honest.
Right.
And
we used to
when
use
it goes
mind
down,
body. Right.
Hell.
I know.
Hell breaks loose.
Yeah. That's why, I'm just wondering if I should trash my current system because, it's not that expensive. It's only $55 a month. And it keeps track. We sell like 10 sessions for $160. Each night is $20. Otherwise, and it tells them if their credit card is going to expire. It automatically renews them. That was the only reason why I liked it, because it was for the auto renew.
Auto renew is a new animal. That's kind of, I'll say this. That's the part that's new. Terrell pointed out one thing to me about that, because Terrell ran the desk at 22 for 2 years. And people have a tendency to cut back on their classes. They were taking 4 or 5 classes a week, and they would buy a package of X. The problem was, as they started to run towards the end of the month, they'd cut back because, I only got 2 lessons left, so they'd start saving them. As opposed to, we had an unlimited monthly, and that unlimited monthly was fabulous because I had people that were there every day of the week. Now, effectively, these people were paying, I'm going to say, anywhere from $4 to $8 a class. Okay, now if they were coming every day a week, we were offering 4 classes to 6 classes per day. And so they could take different things. Technically, they could take up to, I think, 4 classes per day times 30. It was 120 classes. And I think we were charging $165 for an unlimited. Now, technically, that means if they took every single class, they'd be paying $1.25.
Right.
That's ridiculous. But guess what? What did I care? I had 100 people in the room.
Yeah, of course.
So if 10%, 20% were paying less, it didn't matter. The energy and these people taking everything, it meant, again, I didn't have the blind leading the blind.
Right. And you were also open 7 nights a week. I'm only teaching 1 night a week on purpose. If I was not married, if I was single, I would have my own school, 7 nights a week, dance teams perform. Okay, that's another thing that I wanted to get into. If you can think of any other way that you use that card, I really love that idea.
Okay.
As a game.
Double check. It's been a while, but Terrell would remember them right away. I just, like I said, we used them. More importantly, it was how we handed them out. And we would say to everybody, hey, do you think the prices are fair? Good. Help us keep them that way. I would tell them, you don't see my advertisements anywhere, do you? All I ask is that you take one of these and give it to a friend.
Okay.
But
got it.
The important thing was to put it into their hands beforehand.
Right.
Otherwise, as they're walking out the door, you'd stick them in their hand. As they're walking out the door, they'll throw it on the sidewalk. Yeah. Whereas if you gave it to them and said, hang on to this because we're going to use it. Okay, you didn't tell them what they were going to do with it. Spot turns. There were a lot of things like how for the guy to spot rather than gripping, so that you wanted to teach a spot turn. Okay, put the card between it. So now, don't crumple the card. Now do a spot turn. The girls would have to do this.
Right.
So that we taught them to turn on balance. Okay, put the card away. So it was just using it in whatever manner we wanted to get an idea across. But on that day, that was one of the 3 weeks that I was going to do a gift card. Okay. I never did it on the 3rd week because people would hand it out to a friend for the 4th week. And I was like, no, I don't want them to show it 4th week. They wouldn't pay attention. So I'd give it the last week of the month and say, okay, next week we start over. That's when I'd give out a bunch. I'd say, okay, you have 2 or 3 friends, I'll give you 2 or 3 cards.
Right.
So, and a family can share a card. I don't care. I wanted bodies. So that was how we gave it out on the 4th week. The 1st week, did you have fun today? Great. Do you have friends? Wonderful. Take it, give it to a friend, because you're going to learn faster. You're going to learn better if you're bringing friends. And I say, the 2nd week, I'd say, I'm not going to give you a card this week because I don't want anybody starting next week. They'll be totally lost. But do you have friends that you that you want to bring. You're going to learn better. You're going to help the studio keep its costs down because we don't advertise. So here's a card if you really want one, but remember, they can't start till next month. So I tried to give it fourth week and first week. Second week, I was a little tight with them, and third week, I would not give it out at all because by then people were coming. Now, here's the thing about a 10-week course.
No, I don't do that.
Okay.
Well, I don't do 6-week courses.
You do 10
I don't do
card
any
packages.
of that. Okay.
Cool.
I don't do that. I don't believe in it. The way our system is set up, we're always letting people in every single week because it's you'll have to see it one day, but that's for another time, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to wait till the first week to let people come. We don't do that.
Okay.
So it's a completely new method. All right, the next thing, showcases by students for students. Did you do that all the time? Like showcases,
yes, but
performances?
It is. We did it, but it's limiting. I'll tell you what worked better. Casino Rueda, because they loved it. It didn't require a rehearsal. It really it meant not doing routines. It meant knowing the steps.
Okay.
So they could perform much easier. Costumes are always a problem. I mean, typically now these stupid ballroom and Latin dresses, these Latin dresses are running $3,500. So did I want to take my money and give it to Wayne Ang or whoever has a competition? Or I'll just pretend it's Albert Torres. No, I'd rather them spend it in the studio on the lesson. So we did showcases, we did solos, we did group numbers, and we did Rueda teams. The teams are always, it's a good thing because teams are inclusive. That was a big word for us. Anything that was exclusive, not good.
Okay.
So inclusivity, that was Terrell's strength, always developing the inclusivity. If with a team, they got to play. They could jump in, and if they missed a week or whatever, casino, you can get away with having extra guys or girls. It doesn't matter. Casino, because we taught them how to hold their space. So with teams, we might have 3 separate levels of casino teams, much like people do. I call shine. I didn't like shine.
Me neither.
To me, yeah, they're not great for social dancing.
Right.
And people get so hung up on the shines that it's about partnering. Right. You just want to be the best partner you can. So we would do that. Now, one thing about our showcase, they always had a theme. So on I think it's the Let's Dance LA website. I sent you the link. You'll see the YMCA. Now, that one is ridiculous in terms of its energy, the amount of new business it brought us, because at the end of that thing, we did a tribute to the village people. So I had 4 old guys, me and 4 other guys dressed like the village people, doing a crappy, unrehearsed beginning of YMCA, and then all of a sudden, 2 choruses in, out come the hot young students and teachers, and they come in, and of course, and they're showing 6-packs, and the women are going crazy and screaming or whatever. And we do 2 choruses with everybody, and they actually have rehearsed, they look good. We go into the audience and drag guests and put them into the end of this YMCA, and they're all doing it and going nuts. You'll see the video. The next day, Starbucks, 1 block away, said, "What the hell were you guys doing? We could hear you here." Inside, because people were screaming. They were out of control. And it was a costume thing. So that was a disco thing. One night we did Back to Havana. I brought in Sonny Clave, and I had Chino Espinosa dressed like Ricky Ricardo and come in and do boleros, and we had our 2 African guys, Afro-Cuban guys, come in and do first they actually did several of the Orisha dances. I mean, fabulous stuff. And then I came in like the peanut vendor to start the night, and then we did a big group number that basically, I think it might have been an afternoon rehearsal, but it was just, all of our stuff it wasn't about perfection, it was about inclusivity. And we had probably 60 people in that number, in the Back to Havana number, and surrounded it with the samba teacher picked some song from the 50s and brought her group in for maybe 30 bars. I mean, we're talking half a song.
Okay, all right.
And they would just come in, dance on, dance off. So it was almost like a theater production in the Granada. But showcases, we started doing them probably every 3 to 4 months. And we knew that we also could take the ones that were doing privates, and that's wonderful, but it was more important that they dance in the studio than they go to, say, Wayne Eng's competition or whatever. First of all, it was money in our pocket, privates and whatever. They didn't need to have the same level of costume, which is a lot of money. That scares off a lot of people. So, that's why I say the teams are a much better way to get people energized.
Okay, now my next question is, did you ever monetize your dance teams, like send them off to corporate events and stuff like that?
I did at Dallas, not at Let's Dance. At Let's Dance, we had so many street events that I didn't have to. I'll back up. I'll let you see the answer to that. On EXT Dance, I have a little pro teacher's quiz, and I ask, what is the best way someone tries to hire you? What does the studio send? Do you send its top pros? Do you send amateurs? Do you send a mix? And I answer each one as to why. Sending students is a great thing, because you tell them, hey, hand out business cards, they'll do it for you. They are having fun. They're not a pro, I'm a star, watch me, goodbye, I'm out of here. They'll stay and dance with anybody, and sending a team is a great thing. I didn't necessarily monetize. I might have brought them along, and I would say, well, look, if you want a professional show, we'll come, we'll give, our price was, I'll just say $1,000. Now, if you wanted, I can't afford that. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll have a pro come and he'll do a demonstration, but no costumes, but we'll bring other dancers that will dance with your group and whatever. Oh, that sounds more fun. Perfect. $500. Something like that.
Okay, all right. So my next question is this. Now, another revenue generator was you had the competition, the salsa contest at the Granada. I remember that. Was that a good revenue for you, or was it just another night?
No, it was packed. But first of all, we got somebody to put up the money. So that was a big thing, $10,000. The bad thing was the level of dancing for the first couple of years was terrible. The amateurs, terrible. I mean, it was, we did not focus on tricks or flips, any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It was the more comfortable you are to dance with, the more you're going to dance. Mm-hmm. And that was our mantra. And so our students weren't big on competition. So all we did was basically bring in other street salseros and whatever to come in and take the money. And everybody said, oh, good. But once people had seen the level of artists that we brought in, Sharon Savoy and, professional Latin dancers, mm-hmm. they weren't impressed by Christian or, I forget something, or Abel, Benya. They were like, oh, he can spin her, great. But they'd come up to me afterwards and go, wow, he's really dancing flat-footed. We had given them a critical eye. We showed them what good dancing was. We showed them what bad dancing was. Then somebody comes in and he's some hotshot pro, and my students would be calling it out. not to them, but they'd say to us, wow, that guy's really flat-footed, or wow, he's really rough. And I'd say, yeah, good eye. But
okay, all right. Well, my next question is, what were your biggest classes? Were they the salsa classes?
By the end, they were originally. They started out West Coast Swing. When Rob was there, West Coast Swing. Any social dance, if you want it to be big, you can make it big.
What did you do to get those big classes like that? The cards and word of mouth, or what? Or was it the teacher?
Okay. Youth attracts old age. Old age does not attract youth. Okay. At that point, we were relatively young. We were bringing in young people, young college. We were drawing from Caltech, even if they were a little bit nerdy, City College. We were really going for the young crowd.
Okay.
They say that the student base is within 10 years of the front person, not necessarily the owner, but if the owner's up front, the age of the group will age with him. So now, if I were in there, there's going to be a lot of 60 and 70-year-olds and 50-year-olds, and the 30-year-olds come in and look at me and go, oh, he's an old guy. What we had to do is what they did at Dupre's Dance Academy, which was where Joe Tremaine was, all the big names of LA jazz. You'd go in and you'd take with some superstar young kid, but you still, if you wanted to take with Roland Dupre, you had to be a level 4. And you had to be really good if you ever wanted a lesson with Edie. In other words, so we had to flip it. Now, the thing was that the beginner teachers tend to not be very good. They tend to be steps, showing off. It's all ego. Instead, what we tried to do was sometimes we let the beginners do, if they kept it really simple, we'd let I'll say Hector, Bridget, Vanessa, the ones that we had trained, we let them do, those first lessons. But as we aged, we started splitting the partnerships. So I would teach with one of the younger kids. But once we got to level 2, no, it was Terrell and I, because then they were like, oh, you get to work with them when, but by then, Hector, our format was such that when we started a class, I would do the warm-up and I'd have my 5 young ones front row.
So why do you think, what was the transition from your West Coast swing being the most popular to salsa? Was it the sign of the times, or was it the instructors?
Robert left and he turned it over to other swing people. Mm-hmm. Some of them were champions, but they didn't know how to teach.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, the one thing about ballroom is that everything is based on technique. Too much, to be honest, but the training is different. It's about connection. It's about, everything from foot articulation to the end one, how motion is created. They talk muscles and contralateral rotation, things like that. So what happens is salsa people come in, like, good example, I remember sitting at LA Salsa Congress and listening to Luis and Joby's tape, and the only words for 3 days I heard were 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now we're going to do this step. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. No explanation, no nothing, just watch me. When I remember we brought Francisco in to do Mambo Mania, and our students were used to questioning. What foot are you on? What beat are you on? How are you leading that? And Francisco would say, watch me. And the students would go, no, what beat are you on? Watch me. And so, when you create a student like that, the best part, Edie, is they go somewhere else. They go, oh, this person sucks. And they'll come right back to you. Mm-hmm. So you have to create an elitism of, wow, this place really knows its shit.
So my question then is to you: if those instructors only taught 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and your students were far more educated, why did you bring them in?
Sometimes it's just to let people see that, the grass is not always greener. Sometimes.
I see.
Sometimes for Mambo Mania, everybody was talking at the peak of LA, when LA started to get hot. We're talking 2001, 2002. That everybody was talking about LA style, Francisco, and whatever. Okay. When those guys come in and they can't teach, but they can dance. They can really dance. They can't teach. People said, I learned something, but I'm never going to use it, because they'd come in and teach tricks and drops, and we had already kind of put that's not something you want to be doing in a club.
Right. Okay.
And girls get hurt and things like that. So they'd come in and ego out, and people would say, oh, wow. And so we didn't have to worry about losing anybody.
Okay. I had an instructor come in, and he came in and he was reteaching the basic step to our people. He was teaching stand, forward, stand, back, and I was mortified, okay? And what would you have done in that situation?
Without seeming like an ass, okay. One of the things that I would say, I would not deal with them in class, because then it seems like ego. I would say to them, first of all, I said, there's one teacher in this room, you're looking at it. So I appreciate if you're going to teach, don't do it while somebody else is trying to learn from us, because it distracts them. Okay?
Now, this was to the entire group in front. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Well, first of all, after the guy leaves, I would absolutely rip on the guy and go, oh my God, talk about old school. God, they don't even teach, that's like Arthur Murray's. And by the way, I had no problem bagging on Murray's or Stair.
Right, but in front of the students, you wouldn't say anything, right? You just let him continue and finish.
I would not let him continue. I'd say, if he is in a dance class and the clock is running, I'd say, hold it. There's one teacher in this class, and they're trying to listen to me, and you're distracting them.
No. This is an instructor that you hired to come out to teach stuff.
That happened.
It happened.
That happened.
And then
oh my God,
they ended up reteaching the basic, and it's like, fuck, I didn't ask you to reteach our basic. I asked you to come out and teach connection or lifts and tricks or musicality, but you're reteaching the basic step in front of everybody.
Okay, I'm guilty of that, and I'll tell you why. I've gone in where they do forward break, back break. Okay, and I've gone into the school and I said, look, I'm going to change your way of. I said, I'm going to open your mind. I said, to a new way of thinking, and I'll tell you. You tell me which is correct. Big step on a quick or big step on a slow. Okay, so I would tell them that what is taught to beginners is not what the advanced dancers are doing. So I'd say to them, I don't believe in teaching something to a beginner and then a year later telling him, well, that's not quite right. I'd rather teach you the correct way. I'd rather tell you what the advanced dancers are doing. But isn't that advanced? No.
No, Enio, that's not my question. I was in a situation where I had invited an instructor to come to teach musicality, okay? And he ended up teaching basics, okay? And I did not want him to teach. I didn't,
Yeah.
because he was 10 years behind our methods, okay? I didn't want him to teach the basics, but he went ahead, and unfortunately, I didn't make myself clear beforehand. He started reteaching the basic step, reteaching the crossbody lead, which was completely wrong, based on what I have been doing, which is and he was teaching it, and it was in the middle of our class, and I was so mortified because the students came up to me afterward and said, God, Edie, you've been teaching it wrong to us this whole time, because he's teaching us a whole different way of doing it. And I was beside myself. What would you have done in that situation?
You've done it. It's too late. Let's put it this way. You've given somebody the keys to your Porsche, and they just wrapped it around the tree.
Right.
So before you let them in, you have to vet them. Before you let them in, as you say to them, let's say, with me, I tell them I teach pendulum. I tell them I teach that forward break, back break is wrong.
Okay.
Now, if you want to go in there and teach them forward break, back break, you're going to get eye rolls. So I warn them that if I'm bringing you for musicality, stick to that.
Okay.
But if they decide to do that, look, on the other hand, think of it my way. When I've gone into a school and I've said, pendulum is the real way to dance salsa, and I tell them, if you understand that, you're going to have to do a little tap dancing when I leave, because you don't know something that I do. And you're bringing me in. Now, I can not mention it, but in reality, you want to upgrade your level, then you need to just listen in. You better sit in on this class and take it like it's something new, as opposed to you're doing something wrong. Just take it as something new.
Right, because ever since then, I have refused to let anybody in my class, because they don't know what I know or what I've learned. Right. And so I just don't even invite guest instructors anymore, because they're not where we're at. You know what I mean? And it's
but really, see, I could have said the same thing. They could have said the same thing to me. Mm-hmm. They could have said, well, you're not where we're at, because we're teaching what the ballroom people teach. And I would have said, okay, well then, you know what, maybe I'm not the right person for you.
Right.
But yeah, there's not much you can do in that situation.
Okay. All right. Next question. So you've already answered a few here. Okay. So that goes on to my next class, my next topic. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and pay you for another hour if we need to, but I guess this is really, let me just tell you the background. When I first started black belt salsa, okay, people were really impressed with the name, okay, they were fascinated. And I said, well, do I have to be black belt? No, but you'll get there eventually. And I have quite a few engineers, martial artists, people like that who understand system-based training rather than pattern-based training, okay? And we really, really hardcore the fundamentals a lot in every class. The fundamentals are the most important thing in black belt salsa. We go over our basics over and over again. We're really, we're all about connection. That's the very first thing. We're even about how the guy is supposed to stand, just listening, and how the girl is supposed to stand, just listening. You don't want the girls looking like men, and connection, and so that is so important in black belt. And the training, I mean, it takes what, 3 months? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months just to get the basics down, okay? And that includes crossbody lead, progressive lefts, progressive rights, etc. And so they said, wow, Edie, you know, what you're doing here, you could apply to swing, you could apply to every dance, you could apply to all the street dances, obviously. So what I did was I went through and I purchased literally black belt everything, and I think you saw that in that list, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And I thought, wow, this would be really cool to open up some sort of franchise. I was originally going to do a franchise, but the lawyer's fees and everything, and to protect the 10-mile radius. So now it's just a software enterprise system where they log in and then they can see the curriculum and then they can teach without me even having to know those dances. I don't need to know them. There's going to be a master sensei in every level. Now, I've really developed the black belt salsa side of it, okay? With the same concept in mind of fundamentals being the most important thing, and then you can move on from there. We build it based on the Lego system, I guess you could say, that you move on based on what you learned last week. And it's a system of progression based on what body part you're touching. The guys might be doing the same footwork for 4 months, but they're using different body parts to flavor up the moves, okay, both on themselves and the women. So anyway, I'm at a crossroads right now on whether I should develop this, okay, with all the other dances, or whether I should just package this up as something to sell, or whether I should go get funding through crowdfunding sources, stuff like that, and just see if I can develop this or partner with somebody that wants to take off and run with this with me, you know? And my question would be, if you owned all those domains, what would you do with them?
Well, you want honesty or what?
I want honesty.
Okay. I talked to my number one student. She's a multi-black belt. And I said, what is the first thing you feel when you hear black belt salsa? And she's a salsa dancer. She's a tango dancer. I got her into ballroom and Latin. She won a world championship in ballroom. She said two things, because I listened to the girl that explained why you have the martial arts connection, the spirituality, the connection, the multi things, not just learning dance, right? And she made a point. She goes, anybody that's into martial arts, she said two things. We don't, we're black belt. We're taught not to say, I'm a black belt. I'm going to kick your ass before you know what's coming. So she goes, we don't say we're black belts. And any guy that's calling himself a sensei, he's John Kreese, from that. And I had kind of the initial same reaction when I first heard it. Having studied judo, I heard it and I thought, what is the connection? My immediate thought was physicality. It was, people fighting. And I thought, oh my God, the one thing I'm always trying to do is to get them to not be physical, to be supportive and so on. So for me, the name is kind of, I'm not sure. She said, but it's a clever marketing thing. She said, but she goes, I don't know. She goes, it doesn't ring for me. And I said, well, okay, I would pass that on. Here's what my thought is on all of the dances. Okay. Ballroom has already invented the wheel. You can't reinvent it. Their way of teaching is not focused on social, to be honest. They don't want social. They want competitive. So what's happening is you're trying to rip away from them their dances and say, I have a better way to teach it. And they're going to say, what championship did you win? It's their methodology, what we talked about, all of the things they do, level 1, level 2, level 3. Their classes are designed to package with private lessons. So when they buy 15 private lessons, they're getting 15 parties and 15 groups. So they say, I'm selling you 45 of these, 45 items, and you're only paying $1,500. Divide it up and you go, oh, I'm paying $30 for a party, $30 for a group, and $30 for a lesson. Well, that sounds wonderful, except, so the dance studios, their marketing is ideally, they want private. They want private, and parties are very common, are big things in Midwest and rural areas. But in the big cities, they don't know how to do parties. It's all one-to-one. It's all So I don't know how to approach that, because you get what's blowing up the ballroom world right now is all these Russians are coming in and undercutting everybody. And they, the guys are coming in, they're putting their hands all over the girls' butts. The girls come in and they're Russian and they're very sexy, and they're playing that card, and they're stealing our lunch, and they undercut everybody money-wise. And then once they open up and they get you hooked on competition, then they're charging like $1,000 to $3,000 a weekend for your teacher. You're hiring your teacher for $1,000 to $3,000 to go and dance with you 100 times at an event. I don't know that your template system would work for ballroom, because ballroom has been so dissected and reassembled, and by design, the tests are ridiculously challenging. You have to know the beats, the rise and fall, the amount of turn in terms of 3/4 of a turn between 1 and 2, 1/3 of a turn between 3 and 4. And so they're training from like the Imperial Society and Wayne and Dance Vision. Dance Vision is a little easier, but they're based on complete knowledge of a pattern and momentum and leg swing. And so the book, if you ever see the Imperial Society book, it's this thin, but the writing is like this small, and it has 5 columns, and the man's part, follower's part, and you have to know what step precedes what steps and what steps follow those steps. And they already have it broken out into bronze, silver, and gold. So that's already there. So to get somebody to come in and say, well, I'm going to do your method, if they're going to be trained at either Imperial or Davida, one of the two big ones, or in the American style, Fred Astaire or Arthur Murray or Davida, they're already trained. So you're not selling anything. If you're creating the solos, so let's say you hire me to teach cha-cha. I'm a different animal. I go in there and I teach cha-cha in a street form. And the ballroom people always go, oh my God, you look so good. And I go, well, stop teaching the way you're teaching. But that's hard for them because they have to let go of what they've been told. So they have to embrace something. So if you were pulling together, I'll say, ballroom is not a street form, ever. There's 2 styles, A or B. There's no room for any other because they cover everything. If you see country waltz or country 2-step and put them next to ballroom waltz and foxtrot, they're very similar. Even the country western dancers have all been training with ballroom training people to win. So they've gotten a lot better. But I don't know, it's a very difficult thing that what you're trying to do with selling that. Because I think, the Dancing with the Star guys, Max and Val, they've opened 14 studios. They're franchising, but I know what they're going to do. They're going to try to build it up. They're going high-end malls, and then they're going to try to let Arthur Murray or Fred Astaire bid to buy. But what they're doing is they're putting out these, Max and Val, these gorgeous-looking Russians, show up, big party, the place is packed with women. They get them excited, and they teach I'll call it a cha-cha shine or a salsa shine or a samba shine, something. And they leave, and then they leave it in the care of people that they've trained, like yours, and their job is to turn them into competitive dancers because their parties suck. Their parties are all women. And I've seen their studios from Texas to Florida, and they're all in a mall. They're super elegant. They have chandeliers, gorgeous places, but Their business is dead. See, what you've got is something that they cannot figure out, how to get men. Okay? Mm-hmm. And partially because they, I did a, what do you call excuse me, where is it? Not, the slideshow program for Microsoft. What's it called?
A program for Microsoft?
Yeah, the slideshow program.
A PowerPoint.
For selling. PowerPoint. Okay. I did a PowerPoint, and I put in pictures of what was the Australian movie, Strictly Ballroom.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, how ridiculous with the big hair and all, and the orange makeup.
Right.
And I said, you're selling this because you think this is good. You think people look at this and think that's wonderful, and people are laughing at you. Mm-hmm. Now, if they come in and they sign up for lessons and you give them a nice teacher or whatever, at the end of 3 months, they think that's good because you told them that's good. I said, but I used to demonstrate street anything versus ballroom anything. And I said, I wouldn't tell them what it was. I would change the frame. I would change the size of the step. And I would say, now you guys vote. Which one do you like better? 99.5% of the time, they always chose street because it looked natural. Ballroom anything, ballroom salsa, ballroom swing always looks artificial.
Right.
Always looks wrong. So when you see it, you don't have to do anything. So ideally, if you were putting together a new style of street ballroom or street swing or street Latin, but basically to bring in, let's say, I don't care if you brought in, you know, most champions, they're going to just regurgitate what the Imperial Society, DeVita, or, wherever they learned, which those are the big ones.
Right. You know, and I think what I was thinking way back then was I always wanted to take waltz. I always wanted to take quick step, you know, just a big group class on quick step, a big group class on foxtrot, just to have fun with it, to see what I could do, you know. And there was never anything like that offered. I had to pay $150 an hour to take a private lesson, and I just didn't have that kind of money, you know. And I thought, wow, why can't there be group classes of just a whole group waltz or a whole group tango or a whole group, you know, and I thought, wouldn't that be fun if people just wanted to dabble in it a little bit and just learn the basic for a wedding or whatever, you know? And I thought, because if you can get $150 for one couple, but if you had 150 people at $1 each, it's the same thing, you know? And so I thought, wow, it would be really cool to offer that to street people, to people who can't afford all this craziness. You know what I mean?
Here we go. Look at the pyramid.
Okay, hang on. Share screen, pyramid. Okay.
Okay. Number 2, fun. Fun is the energy, fun is what people are going to remember when they leave that class. I had fun or I didn't.
Right.
But usability is critically important. Okay? Kid Rock said, the music of your generation is the music that was playing when you first got laid. That was quote unquote. I changed the wording a little bit. I say, look, when you were 15 and going to your first parties, the music that you heard is the music that when you go to parties at your friend's house, when you're 40 and 50, it's going to be the same music. Rolling Stones, Boy George, Madonna, whatever your close friends listen to is the music that you are going to gravitate to. Now, I can bring you in and I can teach you to Strauss waltzes, but the usability factor for that is zip. But if I teach you how to dance to, my God, Journey did waltzes, Jim Croce did waltzes. I play music I look around the room. What's the majority? If I have a good cross section, I will have music from each generation. Ballroom, on the opposite, is more about strict tempo. It's got to be exactly waltz, 30 measures per minute. Bullshit. Teach them to dance to any waltz. Now the difference is it's usable. Now when they go to their friend's house, you don't teach them to blast down a floor, which is non-existent. They're going to be dancing in a small space. Teach them how to dance waltz in a small space. Now it's usable. One way to do that was to run a class. Once they are level 2 or 3 in salsa, they're focusing on maybe salsa, bachata, maybe cha-cha, if you can get them to do that. Once they start to see it's no harder, because the same skills that you taught, you're not memorizing a new pattern, you're memorizing a new timing.
Right.
Cha-cha, 1, 2, 3, quick, quick, 1, 2, 3, quick, quick, like you. Just have them go around the room in a circle in that timing. Go backwards. Do it sideways, forward and back. Guess what? Now, every turn you've got in salsa, you can put into cha-cha.
Right.
Change the timing.
Except for waltz.
Becomes easy.
Waltz is
Exactly.
kind of tough. Right.
Well, with every other form, we would put pivots. We would put tango cortes into salsa. So they say, "Oh, that's a cool move." You know, it's a waltz step. Come learn waltz. You'll learn a whole bunch of other cool moves. So we would show it by sometimes bringing in a couple to demonstrate, sometimes by just the fact that Terrell and I, at a party, we believe that you do not play one kind of music. I don't care if it's a salsa night, you still throw in a bolero, you throw in a cha-cha, a merengue, and if they sit out and you go, "Oh my God, you're missing a lot of fun." So when we had a general party, we made sure that there was a hook to get the salsa people to come. So what did we do? We played a lot of heavy ballroom and swing in the early part.
Right.
And then in the second part, we played a lot of salsa with a few waltzes and foxtrots thrown in. Why? Because we would play a super fast salsa song and then follow it by killing the energy, letting them go, and now put on a waltz.
Yeah, they did that at the Gold Coast Ballroom in Florida, where I used to go all the
Gold
time.
Gold Coast is the gold standard.
Yeah.
They're fabulous.
I used to teach there, and I would go to their Sunday socials, and it was amazing.
We taught it that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was just, that was my highlight of my week, was going to Gold Coast, and I was always watching and always envious of the people that were doing the waltz and the foxtrot and the tango, but I would only wait for the salsa, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool just to know the basic without having to take a $150 private lesson?
You don't need it. You don't need it. We taught a group class that was identical to what we do in salsa. We taught skills first. We didn't teach the waltz step. Again, there's your mistake. You're thinking, "Oh, if I only knew a step," you'd still go out there, you wouldn't know jack all. We taught skills. How to hold a person is much more important than because if you think of something, if you hold a dummy in your arms, and I said, "Now just swing around the room," you wouldn't have any trouble. When you're teaching people to move their legs and arms independently, that's when you get a train wreck. Everything goes wrong because the guy moves the wrong foot, he doesn't change weight. Instead, every dance that we do, except tango, the only dance in existence where you do not change feet on every single step is tango. Everything else changes feet on every step. Left, right, the way we walk. So what we're learning is when. 1, 2, 3, 1, march, 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 march. I don't care if they're clunky. I don't care. If they've had one lesson and they can get around the room, that's pretty effing amazing. Well, we taught them straight, one lesson to move down the room, as opposed to stand on the spot and do the underarm turns. Why? They're roadkill. They're going to get run over by the advanced dancers who are down the floor past them. We taught them how to move even if they didn't have perfect technique. And everything that we taught could be taught in 4 weeks. Every single dance that we did would get them, originally our level 1 included pivot turns. We finally backed off when it got too big because we couldn't run around and help them. So we backed it off and we taught them how to stop at the end of a pivot, but we didn't teach them how to pivot until the beginning of level 2. That was 4 weeks. So they did 3 cycles of something, but they were doing crossbody leads at the end of the second lesson. They just didn't know it. And we taught it on the 3rd lesson. By the 4th lesson, if they couldn't do a crossbody lead, they would repeat the cycle. But we did a 4-week cycle. They were already doing crossbody leads. They were doing change of place with 2 hands. So we were teaching them, how to lead, how to rotate. And then by level 2, we were teaching rotational crossbody leads.
Okay.
So ballroom's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. You teach skills first. First, the skills of changing weight. So for example, if I want to teach, the hardest thing in waltz is to get people to go forward, side, and together and change weight and then go back. Most of them go forward, side, touch, and then go back with the wrong foot because they didn't change weight. So all we'd have them do is do chasse, side together, side together, side together, across the room 25 times, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they did that, they didn't have any trouble because they were automatically used to changing weight. Then we had them traveling down the floor and showed them how to rotate a quarter turn with no difficulty. So at the end of one lesson, they're moving down the floor. At the very end of that first lesson, we actually let them go into hold.
So I would
Okay,
excuse me for a minute. If I would have to, then I would have to set up a separate night for all the, literally copying what Gold Ghost Ballroom does, right? Because then I would have to have a social. We're talking about the usability now in this pyramid, right? I would have to have somewhere for them to apply this stuff.
Right.
I would have to have, when you're talking critical mass, can you explain that, please, the top of the pyramid?
Yes. Critical mass happens when the other 4 parts are working so well that people are bringing their friends without you even having to ask. They are just, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. It's when it goes viral. Now we use the term viral. I like critical mass because critical mass also was a specific number, the number 24 or the number 35.
Okay.
Okay? How you get to critical mass was the other 4 parts. You had to be selling something that they could use.
Wait a minute. What is 24 and 35? What is that?
The ratio. 24 is your absolute minimum. I don't care if you have to give away 25 guest passes free. You need 25 people in that room, and I'll explain why in a minute. Old people want to dance with young people. But if you get a lot of old guys only, and they're kind of all chasing the cute girl in class, that girl will not come back. She'll go home and tell her friend, that place is full of creepers. Okay? The magic word creepers. You know what it means. Okay. Women, on the other hand, tend to be a little bit more welcoming, inclusive. So they're happy to dance. They want to dance with anybody. If he's young, great. If he's old, it's okay. As long as he doesn't step on them, they're okay. But guys, the old guys have a tendency to go for the young women. Makes the older women feel bad, and it scares off the young women. Okay? So it kills you. So if you take 3 people in each age bracket, and I put the age bracket as 18 to 30, 30 to 45, 45 to 60, and 60 to death. Okay? If you have 3 people of each age bracket, at least the girls rotating, yeah, there's a couple of creepy old guys, but there's this one cute guy. He could be a nerd. He could be a, tape on the glasses and pocket protector and all that. But you know what? He's still young. So the girls will go, oh, he's kind of dorky, but he's kind of cute. Okay? If you have somebody in each level, okay? So 3, 3, 3, 3. There's your 12. There's your 24. Now, you can break that up a little bit more, or you can say if there's 5 people in each level. But basically, I just said, look, I don't care how you do it. Focus on the young ones, and the old ones come. Focus on the old one, you're going to end up with a room full of old people.
Okay.
And they have a tendency to, oh, it was raining, I'm not going to go. Old people are going to find any excuse. Oh, my back hurt. Oh, this. Young people, if you're partying, they're going to be there. They're going to push you into critical mass. Okay. Now, you got a room full of young ones. You're going to double the room full of old ones. But get old ones, it is very hard to bring new ones in because the new ones come in, look around the room, and everybody has white hair and a walker. They won't come back.
Okay.
So critical mass meant to reach it, all you needed to do was get what I called the shills, bring in actors. Actors are wonderful. They tend to be noisy. They tend to yak at you. They tend to talk back. Be goofy. Sometimes you have to work really hard to shut them down because they're talking too much. But actors, school teachers are good. Comp them. They don't cost you a dime. Comp them, especially school teachers and nurses. High stress jobs, they are wonderful for your business. They really are, because this becomes their steam release valve. So they tend to come every day. It's cheap. For those are the ones you want the unlimited monthly. Let them come all they want. They're great because, they're also used to young.
Okay.
So critical mass happened because our week one, there was a line out the door and down the block to get in. That's people say, shouldn't you put more people on the door? No, I really wanted that. I wanted people driving by. What's going on? It's like a nightclub. They're lining up to come in. So they would be coming in 20 minutes, 30 minutes early.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing. They're establishing routes. All of it came together by all of the parts. So in other words, you could facilitate relationships, give out guest cards and whatever, and you get a bunch of people that are friends. But if you're not fun, that whole group is going to go, whoop, and they're going to go to somewhere that is fun. If you're teaching to old music and they can't use it, somebody comes into town and he's teaching the hip music, they're going to pick up and go there as a group. So the facilitate relationships is your base, but you got to be really careful that you are a Pied Piper. They go where Edie goes. So I saw this from one studio that cleaned our clock in the early days. They would go to a club and the students would be putting out guest cards everywhere. And I was like, damn, the students were doing it, not the teachers. Teachers were like, oh, I didn't do that. Talk to them. It wasn't me, just they happen to be your patrons and they're giving out guest cards. I can't stop them. They're your patrons. So I did learn that from them is that the students have to follow you. If you don't want to be a Pied Piper, they will find somebody that is. Get one of your apprentices, make sure he's very loyal, give him a lot of extra, and he will take your place, and that's good. But not if it's somebody that's going to break away.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so
but
that's the
usability. Sorry, let me finish with usability. One thing about usability, it isn't just the music, okay? It's showing them how to go into a club and not try to show off, because good dancers have a tendency to blow street dancers or non-dancers away by, oh, look at them showing off. Always stress the appropriate use of what they're learning. Don't go in and do big-ass waltz at a social where everybody's just kind of rocking. Learn how to fit in. So the usability is very important in that respect.
Okay. All right. Different songs. Okay. So the next thing, I want to take a look at your other stuff that you sent me here.
Mm-hmm.
Wooden on leadership.
John Wooden is considered the world's greatest teacher. He was, that pyramid is famous, but that was, he had something like 12 national championship basketball teams. Nobody's ever done more than 3, and he did like 12. But he's considered the greatest teacher by anybody. And this pyramid is, you can take it, but that's what I did is, he said, you've got to have all of the blocks. If you're missing a block, it's going to crumble. So his 12 lessons in leadership are fabulous. Really good information, good to share. I bring other aspects. I bring in spirituality. I bring in, I made fun of the guys that would come in with the big ass belt buckles and, the bandanas. We wanted people to not put on false fronts, facades. So we created a club that people felt very inclusive, but exclusive in that they were getting something that others weren't. So it makes them very proud of your situation, and then they're out there selling it and promoting it.
Yeah,
so our classes were 140 to 180 some nights.
Right. That's why, that's another reason why I'm calling you, is because you had such enormous classes, in salsa. And I've noticed, that the salsa has kind of taken a backseat to bachata and kizomba and zouk lately. And I'm just wondering how I can keep those salsa dances high, because our salsa classes are small compared to what they used to be even like 3 years ago. And a lot of people are moving to those other dances because they're easier to learn. Just add water and you understand. I could teach bachata in 10 minutes, and the my husband told me, well, why don't you figure out a way to teach salsa in 10 minutes? And I was like, oh my God, that's not going to happen. But if you could
He's right.
He is right. And that's what I'm thinking, with this whole black belt program. How can I teach waltz in 10 minutes? How can I teach salsa in 10 minutes? I think that's one of the reasons why salsa has and it's a worldwide thing. It's not just, I thought it was just our school. I thought, my God, what am I doing wrong? But when I talked to other people around the world, same thing. Jeanette Valenzuela said she's had to go down to selling her group classes for $5 a person because the salsa has just tanked in LA. And I'm thinking, okay, Jesus. What?
All right, I'm going to give you a different approach.
Okay.
Why did disco die?
Because it got too hard.
No, it got commercial. Okay, disco ducked, and they were talking about it on the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees were there at the high point of disco, and then all of a sudden everything was commercialized, and it became ridiculous. People were dressing up. And it did become too hard. I will grant you that. But here's exactly what I want you to think of. Take a young 30-year-old, 25-year-old hip-hop fanatic. Guy's a hip-hop fanatic, goes to clubs. Everybody's the same. Everybody's doing their thing. Everybody's looking at the floor. They don't look up. They're looking at the floor. They do their thing. Okay. They go into a salsa club. This guy looks around the room. You get a bunch of the hot salsa dancers showing up, blowing everybody away. God forbid you dance in their special space. That attitude. This guy goes, I've got no game here. He turns around and goes back to the hip hop club where everybody is the same. Well, the same thing happened with bachata. Bachata dumbed it down so much that you couldn't do salsa moves. You couldn't do the big pretzel raps. Why? Bachata was da-da-da hip, da-da-da hip. Oh, and then all the little Dominicans, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. The point is that it becomes too complex for the average person. It doesn't look quick. It doesn't look fun. It doesn't look easy. How can you possibly say to me that salsa and bachata are not the same to teach? They both have 3 beats and 3 beats. What's the difference? Speed. Only difference. Now, the human body can go 540 beats per minute. Okay? If you just stand in place like that, think of a little 4-year-old throwing a temper tantrum. Ba, 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 on the feet, right? They can crank out 9 steps per second. Put your feet apart, you can crank out 2 steps per second. The tighter your feet are on your body, the faster you can go. But when people are teaching break step and break step, people can't go fast. They find the salsa music too fast, and then it's too long because the bands are playing 6-minute, 7-minute, 8-minute songs. At Granada, I said, I I don't want any song over 5.5 minutes. I said, absolute. I said, if you do that, I said, you will not play here. And I forget what his name is. God, I forgot his name. One of the bands challenged me. He said, well, we play what we play. I said, okay, that's fine. No problem. I let him play that night. At the end of the night, he came to me and said, can we get another night? I said, no, I'm sorry. I said, I can't use you. For a year. At the end of a year, he came back to me and said, listen, I'll play what you want. I go, thank you. Okay, I'll book you now. So I played the music. I didn't teach it slow, because you learn it slow, then you cannot do it fast. If you learn it fast, then it's easy to do. Believe it or not, because everybody already can go fast. Everybody, if I make them all do, I say, okay, give me a temper tantrum. And I say, that's about anywhere between 7 and 9 steps per second. Salsa is 200 beats per minute. You just went 500 beats per minute. So you're capable of 2 to 3 times the speed of salsa. Now, do you put your feet apart? You can't do that. So big steps, you can't go fast. So what happens when the music gets fast? Everybody says, oh, smaller steps. Hello. Wonderful. So salsa is not harder to teach. The problem is everybody's doing these fucking pretzel wraps that, Edie, the minute you put your hands up, your rib cage cannot move. Old school mambo, they never put their hands up. Everything was here. The hands were held here. The girls would do this. They smooth the dress. They'd show the ring. None of this stuff up here. No pretzel. That came out of Eddie Torres, the New York pretzel crap. And that makes people think they're dancing, but the girls are bored to death with it. And that's why they're losing people. I'll tell you, go back and I do salsa, I guarantee you my numbers would still be big. But not to say bachata is wrong. It's just the equalizer. It allows the average guy to suck and still dance all night long. And for a lot of guys, they get to dance with white women and grind them. And a lot of women like that, and a lot of guys love that. So that's what not killed you. But understand this, the same thing happened with disco. Disco's coming back. Swing died when it got too complex. They've slowed it way down. They've made it very interpretive. So people don't have to be fast. I mean, fast is good, but the problem is we're trying to turn them into competitors instead of, I want this guy to go into a club, and I don't want the girl to say, that's the most moves I ever did. I want her to say, wow, that's the best it ever felt. And I stressed that to the guys, which meant that there was no focus on lifts, dips, drops. You wanted the girl to feel protected. You wanted to put her out there and let her shake a little bit. And if she gets out there and you put her out there, she's like, pull her in. Don't let her feel bad. So that's what I'm saying to you is bachata is only there for a while. People get bored because there's very little, it can't grow. Okay? So because of that, stand by, be the salsa sensei who can make it easy, make the transition painless from bachata to salsa, and you'll have it. Because the music is 10 times more interesting. To be honest, cha-cha is our favorite because you're doing 6 steps in salsa, I'm doing 10. So I can do more with syncopation in cha-cha than I can with salsa. So for example, Cheryl and I will dance, we'll go to a club, we'll dance most of the salsa, but I'll be dancing with anybody. I hear a cha-cha, I don't care who asks me for the next dance, I go, oh, you get the next salsa, my wife gets the cha-cha, because that's when we get to play. So you see, don't be afraid of bachata. It's like a lot of things, reggaeton, like lambada. It's going to have it's similar to salsa. So for a lot of people, it was a natural to add another dance. But like merengue is so easy. Why do people not do merengue anymore? Because they get bored. They don't have as much to do. So if they learn how to dance better, not become a what's the word? A connoisseur. Become better at the salsa in terms of, rhythmicality and playing with the partner, the call and response, as opposed to watch me spin her 25 times.
Right.
The girls get bored with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these beginners don't know what call and response is. I think, I am guilty of wanting to teach, what a left turn is, what a right turn is, rather than just simple closed position. I should take a look at a bachata class and see what they do. They probably just do a lot of, I have never taken a bachata class, but they do a lot of footwork, and I don't like that, solo footwork. I think I have to dumb down salsa just that much more,
See, that's what we've done. We've dumbed it down to small, small, big. Mm-hmm. Instead of a pattern, a turn, a crossbody. Look, a crossbody lead is me bumping into you saying, oh, excuse me, and getting out of the way and saying, after you. If you tell any guy to do that, you don't have to tell his feet where to go. Mm-hmm. You tell the guy, bump into the girl and back out of her way. Mm-hmm. Open the door, let her by. Now, you like what you see, go get her. Mm-hmm. God, how hard is a crossbody lead? I teach a crossbody lead in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Done.
Right.
Now, I have to keep perfecting it because a lot of them on the fourth step of the crossbody lead will stick that right foot way back. They will stick the right foot back.
Yeah, I
so
know.
They're pulling away from the girl.
I don't teach that. I don't like it either. So I guess what I'm thinking then in my mind, let me think out loud for a sec. If I were to take what I want is a dumbed down version of waltz. I don't want to learn the quarter de vita step, weight change and all this craziness. Mm-hmm. I just want to be able to, if I hear a waltz, and I will be able to grab somebody and do a waltz, not competitive, just having mm-hmm. fun with it. So I need to take that now and put it into salsa. If I hear a salsa, it's the forward and back, and I need to incorporate what you were doing. What did you call it? The pendulum basic. Yeah. It's pretty much the cumbia step, right? You step back.
No. Understand this. Okay, a pendulum uses no energy. You start a pendulum one, boom. Mm-hmm. Right? Instead of stopping and starting. So when the pendulum runs out of energy, mm-hmm. it swings back the other way. So when I go small, small, big, and I open up, now small, small, move. I'm moving on 2 beats. The rest of the time I'm doing body, and I'm moving one step out of 3 steps. I'm still changing weight 3 times, but that is so much simpler than going step, because what they're doing is they never get rhythmic because they're chasing their feet. They're putting their feet as opposed to moving the body. Now, that can be done as cumbia, but if you watch any Cuban, they close to push off. Mm-hmm. The New Yorkers, they cross and roll back. So they're taking that energy and letting it roll. Mm-hmm. And on I think I'm trying to think what website, it's probably Enio and Terrell. I have a page where I took all the 7 major styles of salsa. And some of them were great. But Tito Ortos, if you watch him dance socially, you see that back break is always right underneath him, and he pushes forward. So to me, Puerto Rico. You take Felipe Polanco. It's bop, bop, move. Bop, move, bop. So it's close, move. So our pendulum we actually had 4. Close, close, walk, or close, walk, walk. Or the Cuban close, walk, close. It goes against the Cubans, Cubans always make up their own rules anyway, but it goes against the laws of physics mm-hmm. to go close, walk, close. But they do that a lot in Reda. Mm-hmm. Okay. So all of those were easy. Mm-hmm. And it's instead of telling them, okay, crossbody lead uses this, I tell them, your feet are under your body. Wherever your body goes, to step in rhythm. Mm-hmm. How easy is that? The important part is I would start by telling them, your feet are not learning to dance. Your feet already know how to walk, you know how to run, you know how to turn. So what are you learning? How to hold the girl and when to step so that you're both synchronized. Mm-hmm. Again, dumbing it down to the lowest common denominator. And guys, if somebody puts a fork in your back, it's not going to feel good. So don't put your fingertips on her. Hold the palm. In ballroom, the U.S. champion once said, you don't smash her boob, you lift her boob. And he said, imagine she's got a third boob and you don't want to smash it. And so that's how he teaches it, right? But we taught not to fingertip the girl, but use the heel of the palm, right? And the Cubans, this is an interesting thing. I always made fun of the guys doing the ballroom hold, because in the ballroom hold, the guys get nervous by the end of the song.
Right.
Carol goes, the girls look like Claw Woman. Mm-hmm. The Cubans did the thumb in the palm, finger around the base of the wrist, and then locked the elbow, and then got the rib cage going, and the girls were like, oh my God, I'm moving.
So let's go back to, hold on, let me share the screen. Let's go back to, where were we here?
Cool, nice ship.
Oh, thank you. Let's see, we were here. Okay, and you had the last one, our typical Salsa 1 class. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I remember those days, and for them to, they all have their name tags on. That's really nice. Yeah, we have name tags, but we use a piece of tape, and they just write their name on there and they stick it on there. But
it works too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing about that, we would do basically 2 of something. We would do the warm up, and we'd say, rotate, front line back, front line back, front line back. Next time, move up. Right. So people would start in the back if they weren't comfortable, but they'd keep moving up, and then they get to do it. Go to the back. Right. And so we were constant, so nobody ever said, I can't move. Like, watch the person in front of you. They're doing the same thing. And don't worry, you're going to be in front. So for each, let's say in this one I had, I think 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think there's 6 lines on this one. So this class was probably about 120. Okay? I had one class, I had 8. 8 rows, and usually 25 across. So I would do 8 rotations of whatever element we were doing. The elements were pendulum basic, and then we would say, we originally started going forward break, back break. And we said, okay, now don't ever do that again. Not unless you want to look like a beginner. So we would say that's what a beginner does. Now, how many of you want to go into a club? Are you going to a club? It's like this giant neon light over your head going, beginner, beginner. So don't do that. Pass your feet. So forward, replace, pass. Right. Back, replace, pass. Okay, so that's intermediate. I said, that's 90% of what most salsa people do. I go, imagine McDonald's. McDonald's, you would never call it great food, but McDonald's is, you go to a country where everybody's eating cat, you're going to look for McDonald's. I go, McDonald's is average, and that's what the average is. Forward, replace, pass. I go, now, what do the advanced dancers do? Now we break out the tight Cuban or Puerto Rican, close pendulum, close move. And all of a sudden they go, oh my God, it looks so much better. I go, then why would I want to teach you the beginner? So we're not going to do the beginner step except in the warm-up for like one or 2 times, and then we go right to intermediate. And then we do pendulum, and then we do pendulum closing on, pendulum moving on 2, pendulum moving on 2 and 3, pendulum closing on 3. So we had 4 pendulums. And then we did cucarachas, out and cross, out and cross, out and behind. They'll always screw that one up because they'll switch into cumbia. Then we do cumbias, and we do cumbia crossing. So those elements, and I would tell them at the end of level 1, I said, you have just learned everything you need in level 1, 2, 3, and 4. I said, you're not going to learn any other skill with your feet besides turns, because at the end of our level 1 warm-up, they had done everything that they needed with the exception of pivots. So
I guess the bottom line is this, because I'm going to have to get going here real quick.
Sure.
When I wanted to originally just do this for selfish reasons, I wanted to learn shag, stepping, samba de gaffiera. I mean, that's a tough one. I took a private on that. That was crazy hard. And I was like, okay. And then I'm feeling anything that's too hard, I'm not going to do. And I just want to know the basics of it so that I can get by. But then again, you have to go back to what you were talking about. And I think this pyramid is very important, the usability of it. When can I use this? So I'm thinking, okay, if I were to put on some music that's really popular right now that would have a waltz basic, then I could play that really popular song and show people the basic waltz of that and just have fun with it, right? Or the basic a foxtrot, like find something that would be fun.
Oh, Buble. Just pull out Buble. Everybody knows Buble. But you could find country western covers all genres.
Okay.
Now, one thing about West Coast swing, it is the Swiss Army knife of dancing, because West Coast swing works to hip hop all the way back to Elvis, and technically works to some of the 40s big band. Not much, but for the most part, none of those people are still alive or dancing. So West Coast swing is the best one, and we found at Studio 22, they are doing both. They're doing West Coast and salsa, and now some are crossing into Argentine tango. West Coast swing is easier to teach than really any dance except salsa. West Coast swing is a breeze to teach, but it is so useful because usability. If you said to me, I want something that I can use straight away, I'm not going to mention salsa unless they like the salsa music. I'm going to tell them West Coast swing.
Okay.
Because it works to virtually anything.
Okay. And since you know virtually all these dances,
So I don't know. Stepping is something that Ramiro in Dallas does. I don't do stepping. It's kind of a off rhythm, and I'm not into samba gafiera. I'm not into what else you got there? Zouk. I don't do Zouk. You know.
Okay.
I don't want to go and grind somebody.
Right, and Kizomba, I don't understand Kizomba. It's just too close, and I don't want to teach those dances. But
Exactly.
I'm trying to figure out what I should do with all these domain names. Should I sell them to an aspiring dance entrepreneur that wants to start their own school?
Your concept is good. Honestly, it is good. Me personally, I don't see the connection of martial arts.
Now, the reason why, okay, is because when we would go to congresses all over the world, we would joke around and say, let's look for the black belts, okay? Because we wanted to dance with the top. All the girls would say, and the guys would too, I'm looking for a black belt tonight. And that was like, damn, he's like on, he's went to Starbucks, he wants he wants to get a fix. And so we would always say that, we're the black belts. And so that's kind of where this came, is that you want to dance with the best of the best tonight. You don't care. You don't want to give any beginner a chance. You're just being selfish beyond selfish. And so I thought,
exclusive.
Right, and it's very exclusive and it's very aspiring at the same time. Or like I would look at Terry and I'd say, damn, he's a black belt. I don't want to do black belt, or I don't want to, we would just dink around with that word. Yeah. And so that's where I came up with the idea is, wow, when you look at a couple on the dance floor, like I consider you and Terrell, when I see you on the dance floor, I would say, damn, they're black belts, clear. It's clear. And that's where you can just say, oh, they're badass or they're excellent or they're incredible. But when you say they're black belts, that name carries with it already an excellence type of connotation. You can't.
I understand that part. Yeah.
So that's why when I said, wow, it would be really cool to have a sensei that would be in charge of cumbia, or a sensei that would be in charge of foxtrot or folklorico, or a kizomba master, looking for those type of people that's all they do is just that, And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be nice to be able to create something like this, but thinking maybe this is just too big, it's too much.
In a studio, first of all, a ballroom guy does up to, let's say, 5 dances, or he might have a couple of extras, Peabody. Most ballroom people do American and international, which are similar. American is huge all of a sudden. It's gotten ginormous in Europe, in Russia. But for example, jive, they do it in competition because that's what the British learned. Usability, very rarely will you get that tempo, and most people can't dance it for 2 minutes,
right?
Because it is just, it's for competitors. Okay, so much of the English style of dancing has gotten bastardized by the Russians. It's becoming so fast and whatever. They're going to kill it off, just like I said. Now, the sport aspect of it, there's people that are always going to put their kids into ice skating. If you remember ice skating was deader than a doornail. Tanya Harding comes in, whacks, what's her name, in the kneecap with a pipe. Right. The next thing you know, it was the hottest ticket at the Olympics. Mm-hmm. Had nothing to do with the fact that they could skate. Had to do with the fact that Tanya Harding had her kneecapped. It was like, oh, God, now we got to watch it. Mm-hmm. So, ballroom is a weird thing. It's a very hard thing. If you could sell it, I would say sell it for any amount, because I just don't see the ballroom community looking at it in your aspect. I know a lot of them would straight away make fun of the martial arts. Okay. Because the ballroom people would say, oh my God, yeah, half the people are already, doing judo out there. Why shouldn't we give them a black belt? That's their attitude. It's always about making it look easy and natural. Too many teachers teach you to look unnatural and then try to undo that. Right. And that's your strength, is understanding about making it simple. But the ballroom people do it ass backwards. Memorization, technique, all this part that, to pass a test of knowledge, and 3 years later, you still can't dance for shit. They're still stiff and whatever. And so I could do a group class, and I'd have people that could move around the room, and everybody would take 2 students, one that started somewhere else, one that started with me, and I'd have them way up here because I'd have less emphasis on ballroom proper as opposed to leadability, usability, learning how to, I don't teach a step based on, it's a bronze step or it's a silver step. I can teach you to do anything, given that you have certain skills. The skills that you attained as you work your way up, as opposed to memorizing all these combinations and stuff.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, listen, Enio, I have to go. Okay. Yeah. But I really, really appreciate your knowledge on this, and I appreciate just your wisdom. It's just so valuable for me. And you answered my question hugely. You were able to really answer everything that I'd asked. I do want to do a follow-up meeting maybe in a couple months from now, and sure. Just to tell you what we're doing. But I think one of the key things that I took from this was that first pyramid that you sent. That's really valuable and also dumbing down salsa, just because the way I learned it is not usable that much anymore. People want instant everything, and in order to compete with the bachatas and stuff like that, I have to make it fun, and I have to make it simple and sexy, and I think that was what was missing for me. So I'm going to reevaluate how I teach and what I teach, and really see if I could just sell the black belt system, you know what I mean? Because I can see now that it would be almost next to impossible to come up with something like that, But we'll see what happens. So
okay, feel free to call me if you have a question.
Okay.
It's cool. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Enio.
Sure, love.
Okay. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.